Recently, Paradox creators have been putting an absurd number of Albanians in places they absolutely should not be. For example, Lemon Cake, an EU5 creator, put 1 billion Albanians in London, which somehow bankrupted the country and turned it Orthodox. Then my boy Tarkus did the same thing in Victoria 3, which somehow caused London and Kent to split away from the rest of the UK and become communist. So now, it's time to see what happens in Crusader Kings 3. Unfortunately, we can't add 1 billion Albanians in CK3 because the game can only handle like 40,000 characters alive at any given time. So we're going to do the next best option. Make everyone on the map Albanian. Why is it white? Now, what's so special about Albanians in CK3? They were added to the game within the last couple of years and come with 4 cultural traditions. Sword for hire, which makes mercenaries hiring easier. Mountain homes, which boosts the development and construction in mountain terrain. Staunch traditionalists, which makes hybridization with them much harder. And marital ceremonies, which prevents you from divorcing your spouse, but gives you extra skills from your spouse council tasks. So let's see how the CK3 world handles becoming a completely monoculture map in 1066. 421 years have passed and our only Albanian start. And looking at the map, there are two major powers. Hindustan, ruled by the Bankrupted Albanian dynasty, and the HRE, controlled by Catholic Albanians. You hate to see the Albanians come to blows, but that's exactly what is happening right now, where Bavaria is attacking Hindustan over Armenia of all kingdoms. Before we go any further, I wanted to check up on something that happened during the time lapse. During the Mongol expansion, there's a strange couple-year jump that makes it look like the Byzantines suddenly implode. Turns out, it's not what happened at all. The Mongols conquered them, and then only a few years later, the Mongols' empire itself explodes. I thought it maybe was some new mechanic causing it, but in reality, it just seems to be a weird rendering issue during the time lapse. Now let's talk about culture. Albanians still maintain a massive lead despite losing nearly 1,300 counties to culture conversion. The ledger even tells you how many counties are actively converting away from your culture in-game, which is a nice touch. I went through and counted all the hybrid and diverged cultures spawned from Albanian, and it looks like over 31 have formed. Most of them clustered around the former Byzantine lands. I'm not entirely sure why that area in particular keeps diverging so heavily, but definitely interesting to see. One weird byproduct of everyone becoming Albanian is that the Iberian struggle is still ongoing. Since everyone is considered an interloper, they technically have their realm capital in Iberia without having the correct culture and faith. Because of that, phases progress at an incredibly slow pace. They gain maybe a single point per year, so perhaps in another 936 years, they'll finally get to click the status quo button and ending the struggle once and for all. Faith-wise, Catholics are still dominating the map, with Methodism and Orthodox falling behind. Shangshin also seems to be having a moment. If you follow the paper trail, it's obvious because of the Mongols. Looks like Jochi's son converted even though Temujin himself stayed Tengri. Interestingly, there was only a single Great Khan before the empire completely collapsed. Usually you get anywhere from 2 to 4 rulers before shattering really begins. Maybe the Albanian culture is simply too powerful for the Mongols to handle. After that, let's talk about the government types. The map is actually divided fairly evenly. Feudal dominates Europe along with much of Southeast Asia. Clan government still has some influence in the Middle East, but most of its power is centered around Africa. Celestial government controls all of China and several surrounding regions. And then there's the elephant in the room. Meritocratic. Apparently when Hindustan was presented with the choice between administrative and meritocratic, the AI picked meritocratic for some reason. For those unaware, the government type is basically a watered down celestial government without all the fun dynastic cycle mechanics that make China interesting. You still deal with merit examinations and proving you're the smartest guy in math and in philosophy, but without the overwhelming hegemon power. For Hindustan, they cannot form the hegemon of India because they don't follow one of the required faiths. Otherwise, they probably would have accomplished that already. Let's wrap this up by talking about artifacts. First off, the Lombardy crown is somehow 1175 years old, which is absolutely insane. It also shows that since the Salian dynasty, the HRE has remained under the control of the House Hasarangan, or at least the members of that dynasty from 1114 all the way to 1488. Imagine how many times that crown has changed hands and still maintained its luster. The other artifact I wanted to point out was the papal tiara, which somehow has been stolen by a random duchess. She also appears to be excommunicated, which I'm guessing has something to do with going to war against the Pope and taking his fancy hat. What have we learned from this little time lapse? Even in a monoculture world, the AI will eventually start diverging away from the dominant culture, either because they are new characters spawn or because the ruler wants to become the culture head themselves. The Iberian struggle will apparently never end unless an actual Iberian culture gets involved. Mongols simply cannot survive a monoculture world. And lastly, still blows my mind, Paradox chose white as the Albanian map color in CK3 when it so obviously should be a beautiful shade of red. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for watching this little time lapse. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and have a good rest of your day. Ciao.